Welcome to North America! The United States tends to be a crowd favorite part of the North American continent, but believe it or not, there are some notable parts of not America as well.
No way! What could be more interesting than Wallingford, Connecticut?
Don't believe me yet? Well, why don't we take a look at Lake Louise?
Located in Alberta, Canada, at roughly 51 degrees north and 116 degrees west, Lake Louise is a body of water roughly 2.4 kilometers long, 500 meters wide, and 90 meters deep. The lake is situated next to Mount Victoria and is fed by runoff from 6 surrounding glaciers.
Wow, Christine, I could look at pictures of Lake Louise all day. I mean, how is it even possible for the water to look that blue? It's like magic.
Well, let me tell you about it. Well, believe it or not, Megan, there's actually a scientific reason for that watercolor.
Really?
Sure. Remember those 6 glaciers surrounding Lake Louise that we mentioned earlier? Well, when silt-sized particles of the bedrock from glacial erosion are carried into the water from glacial runoff, they remain suspended in the lake water and reflect green and blue wavelengths of light, giving Lake Louise its unique color. However, it might look slightly different depending on the season, the depth of the water, and the lighting as well.
Wow, thanks physical weathering. Who knew that rocks could be carried off by a little bit of water? And thank you glaciers too. After all, glaciers are largely responsible for the formation of Lake Louise. See Mount Victoria in the background? Lower Victoria Glacier is part of the plain of 6 glaciers here in this area of the Canadian Rockies. The Rockies began forming over 120 million years ago and have undergone erosion, the process of breaking down rock and carrying its fragments. When something known as the Wisconsin Glacial Episode occurred, it formed multiple crevices and valleys within the mountains to form most of the features we see here today, including Lake Louise itself. You can see the remnants of glacial erratics, till, and moraines as you walk along trails here.
Wow, it must have been pretty cold for that to occur. It's still pretty cold here now, but not so much that we have glaciers forming.
Tell me more about the weather, Christine. Could I survive out here?
Sure, Megan. The average temperature of the water in Lake Louise during the summer is around 4 degrees Celsius, so you won't be swimming. However, you can go on some lovely nature walks because the average temperature is usually pretty nice here. In June, the average temperature is around 17.2 degrees Celsius, or 63 degrees Fahrenheit. And during December, the average temperature is around negative 7.6 degrees Celsius, which is around 18 degrees Fahrenheit. So you might not be going on some trail walks during the winter. What about the plant life you can see here, Meg?
Well, before we look at the trees, we need to look at the root of all plant life, soil. Soil here in the taiga biome is thin, acidic, and not very nutrient-rich. It's also rocky. Due to the soil, this area has limited diversity of plant life. However, there are some interesting trees, such as the lodgepole pine, which depends on forest fires to crack open its cones for seeding. Fires also make room for new growth. This is similar to a pyroclimax.
I heard that most trees around here are conifers, which are cone-bearing trees. These guys can survive the average 418 centimeters of snow that fall here each winter. That's pretty impressive. Also, apparently, the most common flower here, the Icelandic poppy, is native to Siberia, so it's adapted to this climate as well. Hey Meg, do you know what kind of animals live here?
Let me show you the trophic pyramid. It will explain who is a consumer and who is a producer. To start off, the pika is the smallest primary consumer. It lives in cracks between boulders and gathers primary producers such as grasses, lichens, leaves, and wildflowers. Additionally, pikas do not hibernate during the winter. There are also very small fish that live within the lake. These fish need to be small because the lake surface is frozen from November to June. Primary consumers are also birds that live in the area, such as Clark's nutcracker, gray jay, ravens, and chickadees. You may even find one of the 2 types of deer here, mule deer and white-tailed deer. Mountain goats have also adapted to the rocky land around Lake Louise. Finally, grizzly bears are the apex predator at the top of the trophic pyramid. As you can see, there's a lot to be celebrated from our time in Lake Louise.
Until our next adventure in North America.